live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you guys are making it going. We know that we are as well. Massive show in store for you tonight. Double guesting it up on a Thursday afternoon. Zack Nagy joins us at 7:15. Is this actually, I think, this is Zach's first time on the show. He is the publisher of LSU Country, powered by Sports Illustrated. He had some massive news today as he reported sources Cam Johnson will not sign his pro contract with St. Louis and is headed to LSU. The number 2 rated left-handed pitcher will be making his way to Baton Rouge to join the national champions. We will talk to him about that. We will also talk a little football here tonight with Mr. Nagy. Great last name, too. Got to give the man credit. My man's out there working. We'll talk to him. Looking forward to having Zach on. Stephen Bishop. So some people have already asked me, Blake, Stephen Bishop looks very familiar. Is he an actor? That he is. If you don't remember who Stephen Bishop is, he did a viral first video of his podcast with our partners over at Believe with Barry Bonds about the Hall of Fame. It went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. TMZ, ESPN, everybody picked up on it. He also played David Justice in the movie Moneyball. So Stephen Bishop will be joining us at 7:30. Really looking forward to him being a part of the show. Going to talk to him about what he thinks about Barry Bonds. He played minor league baseball. Obviously, you know him from the movies, from TV shows, and obviously playing his good friend David Justice in the movie Moneyball. So we'll talk to him about all of that here tonight as well. We'll do a recruiting update. Luke Hill has entered the transfer portal, or intends to enter the transfer portal. The electric shortstop from Baton Rouge, who went to Arizona State. Why? I've been trying to hint at this all day. I do not know if he is going to find his way in purple and gold in Baton Rouge, even though he may want to. I don't know of the likelihood of that happening. We'll talk about that. And I don't know if you saw this today, but on Twitter, Tylen Singleton was getting a lot of love from current LSU players. The linebacker from Manny, 6'3", 205 pounds, was getting so much love from the current players and current recruits that are committed. We'll talk about him as well here tonight. We'll go around your SEC. Last night we talked about Georgia. Tonight we'll talk about Florida. Next week we start guessing it up, going around the SEC. I think we'll have my buddies over on from the Spurs Up. We got SEC Media Days. We have a lot going on. So we might have to, especially with SEC Media Days next week, we might have to push that off. We might have to push that over to next week. But, guys, we're a couple days away. You hear from Brian Kelly, Jane Daniels, Josh Williams, and obviously Mekhi Wingo. So inching ever so closely to some football. About two and a half weeks away from camp starting. It's going to be fun, man. Football is here, but we got a lot of baseball and football LSU-wise to talk to here tonight. And as we do every Tuesday and Thursday, hashtag Ask Blake. Questions, thoughts, concerns, fire them inside the Rudy Crew chat, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Rick is here with us. He says, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Yes. Kevin says, Cam Johnson. That is true. That is what our buddy Zack Nagy broke here today. So we'll have him on and let him kind of share what he reported on. Wit on YouTube says, what school did Cam Johnson go to? He was at IMG Academy, which Brady Neal went there. So many players that have gone to IMG have come to LSU. He also says, is he from Louisiana? He is not. He is not. Kevin says, let's go, baby. Football is in the air. That it is, my friend. That it is. I'm feeling good, man. I mean, you're doing some good things in recruiting in baseball, or you will be doing some good things. Can Jay land Cade Montgomery and Luke Holman? I think those are the two dudes that he is formally after. I think Luke Holman will be your Friday night guy if he winds up coming here. And then your starting right fielder will be Cam Johnson. I mean, not Cam Johnson. Will be Cade Montgomery if he were to choose. But does look like it's coming down to a couple schools. We'll see how that goes. He does have the do not contact, but it does seem as if that the action around him may start picking up over the next couple of days. We will talk about that here as well. Danny says, "What's up, Blake? What's up, Danny? How are you doing, my friend? How are you doing?" Craig says, "Is anyone hearing anything on the two transfers from Stanford?" Well, the one transfer and Matthews got drafted. He is not going anywhere. And Cade Montgomery, we'll see. We will see. C-Man on YouTube says, "Can you explain why Cam Johnson's stock dropped so far besides money? I heard that he has control and injury issues." Well, he hasn't been hurt. I mean, he hadn't been hurt. I mean, Chase Shores was a guy ranked around the same place that Cam Johnson was. Here's what I was told. Well, we'll ask Zach. I was told that he had a number in his head and he wanted it to be met, a lot like Bregman, a lot like Cruz, and they did not meet it. Guys, Cruz would have been slotted to make a crap load of money, more than Bregman would have. Like, kid could have made $4, $5, $6 million coming out of high school. Didn't want to do that. So you don't have to think negatively on why that happened. Bart Smokey says Thatcher Hurd could be our Friday night guy. He really could. I just do think, Bart, that Holman, now he could. Thatcher Hurd 1,000% good. I agree with you there. But I do think Holman has been a little bit more consistent. But you're right. I don't really how do I want to say? I wouldn't argue either one. I think that you're right. I love this one from Doug Knows. He says, Blake, Caleb Jackson was clocked at 23.4 miles per hour in workouts. It's kind of going to be a little bit of our Rafino's rants here tonight. Man, that kid might be something special, y'all. Like, running 23.4 miles per hour is next tier elite. Tripp says, #Ask Blake, is USA Baseball done yet? It will be done, if I'm not mistaken, this week. It will be done this week. So things will start picking up. All right, a couple more, then we'll get rolling. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll wait for Zach to come in here because he'll be here in about 7 minutes, and I don't want to have to get the back-to-back commercials. So we'll just wait for Zack Nagy to get in here, and then we'll get to talking to him. Bryant Miner says, #Tiger needs Thailand. Great recruiting pitch for the kids. So let's talk about that for just a minute. So in case you missed it on Twitter today, Manny safety linebacker Tylen Singleton and I don't know this publication or these people, look, forgive me. It is KALB News Channel 5. I do not mean this in a wrong way. I think that they're in Alexandria. I don't know that. But they reported today that Tylen Singleton is looking to make his announcement later on this month or later on or early on in August, which, guys, again, we've talked about this, and if you're not on the forum, you need to be ayssnetwork.com/forum. Guys, it's $7 a month. $7 a month. Give you all the inside info you need. You could do the annual package. Doing the annual package, though, does give you 4 months for free. What I will say is, before that news had broken tonight or today, LSU, and look, let's call it what it is. Players doing that, okay, like you having current starters like current starters out here saying Tigers for Thailand or Tigers need Thailand. That comes from the coaching staff, man. That 1,000% comes from your recruiting staff. And quite honestly, it is a massive pitch to go out and get a kid that historically at a school in a place that you have not had a lot of success at. Now, that was historically under Ed Orgeron's regime. Jess Curtis has left Manny, even though I don't think it would have affected anything. Let's see what Brian Kelly can do. Let's see what Brian Kelly and staff can do. I have made an official pick on Singleton that is inside the chat, that's inside the forum. You can go check that out. I do like where the Tigers sit. You got some schools that are also after him. Arkansas has gotten into the mix. Texas A&M has gotten into the mix. And I'm not really worried about Arkansas as much as I'm worried about A&M, but I do believe that LSU sits in a really good spot. Can you close at the end of the month at the Bayou Splash? If he is there, can you close with what will be honestly and arguably what could be one of the better recruits in this class and maybe could be the best recruit in this class? You missed on Tackett Curtis a year ago. Let's call it what it is. Like, we do not sugarcoat it here. I don't think there was anything you could have done to get Tackett Curtis. Can you circle back to a place and area in Manny where you can go get a top 100 prospect in recruiting? You're going to have to do things like that. I told you this week, I told you last week, I told you the week before. I'm keeping receipts on some of these recruits, meaning Texas saying a lot of things that they're saying. I don't know how that's going to historically transpire. I don't know. What I do know is there's a lot of smoke around Texas for a team that's not in the top 10 in recruiting, and you never win natties in recruiting in June or July. You never do. How does LSU close here? So we'll talk about that tonight. All right, Zack Nagy in 2 minutes. We'll go to our first break as well. Once we get to him. Yes, Chase Burns has gone to Wake Forest. Kenneth says, Blake, what about Chase Burns to Wake Forest? Look, here's what I'll tell you, because a lot of people are saying that LSU tampered. LSU did not tamper. Here's the truth. Laugh at it, scoff at it all you want. The kid wanted to go, per him, to the pitching lab. Wanted out of the SEC. You don't have to deal with him. Good on him. Look, if you think that kid's not going to get drafted in the top 20 picks next year, you're crazy. But Wake Forest lost their entire weekend rotation. Rhett Lauder's not there anymore. They go get Chase Burns. Good for them. But apparently he wanted to be a part of the pitching lab. So now if the kid has success, the only thing that we're going to hear about is the recruiting lab. All right, one couple more. Adam says LSU taking over the ESPYs last night should prove to recruits it's different here. That was actually going to be, and Adam, we're going to circle back to that. That was my Rufino's rants. Adam's always in here stealing my rants. But he's right. He's 1,000% right. Maybe we need to be putting all this show on YouTube, on Twitter. Did y'all see the Twitter payouts today? Daddy needs bread. Man, I can't make ends meet. Elon, please help a dog. We will talk about that. That's my Rufino's rants. I mean, man, look, Livy Dunn being one of the MCs of it, being a host, Angel Reese, Lil Wayne with an LSU women's national championship hat with some of the net on the hat. Like, you can't, guys, I've said this before. We're damn near 750 episodes into this. You cannot put said it religiously. You cannot put a premium on that last night. There's no sports. There's nothing going on. I know what a lot of you dudes were doing. If you got kids, you're older, you were sitting your ass on the recliner playing with your stuff. You know, maybe, you know what you dudes do. Pause. But it's the truth. You was sitting there playing with yourself. All right. What's that, guys? Oh, Zach is here? Okay. Let's get to him. All right, everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all of those social media groups, share to all of your social media pages. If you're listening to us on Facebook, watching us on Facebook, hit the like and share to all those groups. If you're listening to us on YouTube, hit the subscribe and notification bell. Wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. And all of you watching us on Fubo TV, welcome. My name is Blake Ruffino, and this is RU Series Sports. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag and our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons. Zack Nagy next. Cam Johnson's in the building, y'all. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right. We are joined by our good friend, a man who broke some news today, Sports Illustrated's own Zack Nagy. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself? Let's do it.
I am doing well, but not as well, I guess, as LSU fans are. You broke the news today, so Zack, I'm just going to give you the floor here, because you came out and broke the news that Cam Johnson has officially stated that he is not signing with the Cardinals. I guess take us through that process. I mean, a lot of people assumed that he wasn't because it was in the later parts of it, but it was never confirmed through him. Can you take us through that process and his journey getting to Baton Rouge?
Yeah, so Cam, he's a unit. He's a 6'5", 230 left-handed pitcher. You don't really see many specimen like him. I mean, he throws 99 from the left side. He's an outrageous baseball player. And went to the draft with high hopes. A lot of people thought he'd be a first, second-round guy. Don't know if the asking price was too much. Don't know the in-depth scenario for that, but ultimately slipped to the 20th round. And, he's a first or second-round talent. There's just no need to take that type of pay cut in the 20th round, even to start your professional journey there, especially in the new world of NIL and just all these new things that are just coming to the fold at this point. Do your 3 years, like Dylan Cruz said. Go to school, do what you got to do to make it happen. And ultimately, the decision was he wants to play for Jay Johnson. He wants to play for the reigning national champions. And talking to his dad was saying that he's excited to play for Jay Johnson. He wants to play for the purple and gold, and starts with Jay Johnson building the powerhouse. And bottom line, sounds like he's coming down south. He's just going to suit up for the team. It's a really big development for this team. I don't think people quite understand the magnitude of Cam Johnson. Number 11 overall player in the country. For reference, Dylan Cruz was the number 13 overall player in the country. When Cam puts his feet down in Baton Rouge, he'll be the highest ranked recruit to ever make it to campus for this LSU baseball program. So big win for Jay Johnson, big win for the program, and just big day for LSU.
So his dad came out and quote tweeted, actually, one of my buddies, Stan, and said, there was the picture of Jay hitting the Tommy, and it says, "Don't let Jay get hot." And he said, well, too late. He's already smoking. It seems as if that they really do want to be here. You said that you talked to his dad. I guess in those conversations, did you get that vibe as well from them?
It just seems like it's the place to be. And he said he's a Tiger at heart. And from the jump, once he committed to LSU, you can't predict the MLB draft. The baseball is just so different in the realm that you can get drafted right out of high school, even though you're committed to a college. It's just a different beast. But he said he's a Tiger at heart. He wants to play for Jay Johnson, and he's ready to get his feet down in Baton Rouge and get things going for the reigning national champs.
Zach, you've been here through a lot of big things, right? You've been covering this team through national title runs, a lot of it. Is what Jay doing to you one of the more impressive things that we've seen in LSU, in your opinion?
Yes. I mean, obviously he inherited a roster that had some of Palmineri's recruits, clearly. The world knows that. But it's easy to get talent. It's hard to get the most out of your talent and have them gel as one. And I feel like that's something that Jay Johnson has done an excellent job at. And it's not just getting the talent here. It's developing them. Paul Skeens came to campus as a dog. I mean, you knew he was coming to campus as an absolute menace. But to put on 30 pounds of muscle, to have Wes Johnson side by side with Jay Johnson and evolve him into this absolute tank, a generational pitcher, I think it says a lot about the coaching style of Jay Johnson. And, you have guys who want to play for him. It's not like, sure, it's the LSU brand. There's a lot that comes with it. But when you add Jay Johnson into the fold, it changes the game. And I think Jay Johnson's changed the game. I think he's changed the culture. I think everything he's doing out here is different. He's an elite level recruiter, and it's showing. I feel like the proof's in the product. Year 2 title. I don't see him slowing down anytime soon, especially in the transfer portal. Hopefully we can get to that at some point. But what he's doing in the transfer portal it's going to get scary again.
So there are some big names, Luke Hallman, Bray Montgomery, and others. Obviously, I don't want you to, if you know anything, like break any news, but how do you feel about those two since Jay has been labeled the hashtag Portal King on this show? How do you feel about them possibly being Tigers as well?
I think Braden Montgomery is going to be a tough one. I think everybody's kind of talking about Mississippi State. It's obvious. It's kind of the hometown team. So that's going to be tricky in that regard. It's so fresh on the scene, too. It's so hard to gauge something just because it's so new. But when it comes to Luke Holman, obviously Team USA Baseball ends maybe tomorrow. It ends this week. So Team USA Baseball is going to be over. And once that stops, he's going to start taking his visits. And he's going to hit Tennessee this weekend, I believe. And he's going to get to LSU next week for a visit. And that's huge. And those aren't the only 2 stops. He's gonna make a couple more. He's going to do his rounds. And that's going to set the tone. I feel like to get him in front of Jay Johnson, him and his dad to come downtown, come check everything out is huge for this program. And that's your guy. That's you're putting your foot on the gas for Luke Coleman right now. That's the Alabama ace. That's the guy. So you're doing anything in your power to get him suited up for this fall coming up, because that's your guy now that Chase Burns is a Wake Forest Demon Deacon. You wanna put your foot on the gas and don't stop for Luke Coleman.
Last baseball, because I do want to talk some football with you. We'll spend most of our time there because, I mean, Zach, we're almost there, right? Surprised Chase Burns went to Wake Forest?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised. I didn't necessarily think it was like an LSU or bust situation. Like, there were obviously a ton of potential suitors. I did not see Wake Forest.
I agree with that.
Coming from the upper deck and just slamming it on everybody. I did not expect that at all. But here we are. I guess you could say they're reloading in a way. I mean, they're losing so much talent. It's an interesting situation to go into. But I heard you talking a couple minutes ago just about like the pitching stuff that they have and development and all that stuff. So I feel like he could be going into a pretty good situation. But yeah, to answer your question, shocked. Pretty surprised. Shocked is tough, but pretty surprised.
Yeah, and just because, I mean, look, ACC has not been SEC level baseball, so I think that has shocked me the most. All right, look, we got to talk football here now.
It's time.
It's time. Okay, I love baseball more than the next man. Okay, but Zach, next week we got SEC Media Day, so let's start there. So I'm not surprised that Jane Daniels is going. I'm not really surprised that Mekhi Wingo and Josh Williams are going. But it just felt like, okay, man, like it felt like Brian Kelly made a statement by selecting those three. When you saw those three being announced, I guess what was your first thoughts about taking those three to SC Media Days that LSU will be starting the day off on Monday?
I think it's a win. I think you look at Josh Williams as a guy who kind of fits the culture. He's somebody that I would love to see wear number 18 next year. Kind of just move on. It's a perfect segue for him. He's a culture fit, like I said. He's the epitome of an LSU Tiger, so I feel like it's only right for him to make his way over to SC Media Days, represent the university, do his thing. Your starting quarterback, Jaden Daniels, is going to make his way out there, of course. And Mekhi Wing, I think it's a good trio to have out there. They're all really respectful guys. Every time we've gotten the chance to talk to them, especially Josh Williams. I mean, that is, like I said, I'll say it again, the epitome of an LSU Tiger. So I think it's a W to get all three of those guys out there. I think SEC Media Days, it's the start of the fall. It's the start of the season. It's where everything starts to begin. And I'm really intrigued to see what they have to say. I'm excited to get to see Brian Kelly on the stage again and just move on and get the season rolling because expectations are high going into year 2.
I mean, look, I don't go, so it doesn't really matter. Are you going to SEC Media Days?
I'm not going this year.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If you were, what would be the first question that you would ask Brian Kelly off Jump Street?
Put me on the spot. That's tough. I want to know. I want to talk about the secondary with him eventually. I know there's a lot of bigger things to talk about when it comes to Brian Kelly, but I want to get a little bit more details on this secondary before fall camp starts and we get an actual visual. I want to get his perspective before I can create my own. I really want to know what he's thinking about the secondary. It's a completely fresh-faced group, early enrollees, transfers, some Power 5, some not. It's just a complete mesh of everything. So I'm really intrigued to see what he has to say about the secondary before I can develop my own opinion because I'd love to see what he has to say about all that.
I agree. And Zach, we talked about the secondary a lot last night on our show.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you got it. What's crazy is a lot of people thought last year that the secondary wasn't the strength of the defense, but I made the argument, you could make the argument that they were in this sense. They went from 103rd in the country in passing yards allowed the year before to 26th. I think the issue had been, to your point, where they got to get better at, which does fall in the secondary. Man, the 4 losses that LSU had last year, Zach, third down efficiency was really bad. Florida State, obviously Texas A&M and Tennessee, and then Georgia. I mean, look, you're not ready for Georgia, so I'll kind of give that one a little bit of a pass. But I do agree. When you look over at the offensive side of the ball, I'm very bullish on how good this offense can be. I think we saw glimpses last year of how good this offense can be. When you look at them, where do you see, with all the returning experience and talent, where do you think this offense could go?
High. I am high on this LSU offense.
Agreed.
Returning your entire offensive line, it's a bunch of studs, and you're just returning so much talent. I want to see Mason Taylor take that next step as well. He's somebody that I'm just extremely high on as well. I love what he brings to the table. I love this freshman season. It's hard not to. Obviously, the Alabama play kind of puts a lot of attention on him. But aside from the 2-point conversion, I love what he brought to the table, and I feel like if he can take that next step, along with Jaden Daniels going vertical with the ball, moving, pushing the ball down the field, I feel like the sky's the limit for this offense. The continuity's there, the chemistry's there. It's just a matter of putting it all together. And I feel like after another offseason in Mike Denbrock's system, I feel like year 2 could be a really, really big year for this offense.
Jaden Daniels has moved up to the number 2 overall odds in the Heisman. I will admit, considering you have Drake May, Caleb Williams, and so many others, Zach, I was very surprised by Jaden moving up that much into that high of a role when you have that many good players. Are you shocked by Jaden's climb? Because look, it's either love or hate with him in this fan base, but nationally, he's on a very big uphill climb when it comes to national attention. Were you shocked by that?
I think that's extremely surprising just because this quarterback class is pretty talented. It's top heavy. Right. So your top guys are strong as hell. But I've heard a lot of good things about his offseason. He goes back to California and trains out there, comes back here, works with his receivers, sees if it translates. And I've heard that it's been translating very, very well. I expect him to take that next step. And while we're being honest here, I mean, he started the season struggling getting the ball downfield because the offensive line was pretty brutal last year. And once they got continuity up front, you started to see Jaden Daniels evolve into this super, super talented quarterback from an arm perspective. So I feel like all he can do is continue taking that next step. And I think he's going to do that this year and get the ball vertical and, utilize his weapons. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas. I'm hoping Kyron Lacey can take that next step as well. A couple of the freshmen, whether it's Sheldon Sampson, Jalen Brown. You have your speedsters. A guy that I'm really high on is Kyle Parker. I think he's going to make a pretty big impact on whether it's special teams, receiver. I want to see him do something this year as a true freshman. So he's got the weapons. Will he utilize them? I'm going to say yes. I think he's going to take that next step this year.
Last one for you. Is it playoff or bust?
It's playoff or bust after last year. It has to. That's the next step for this team. Making it that far, I think it's playoff or bust for sure. Yes.
Zack Nagy, Sports Illustrated's own. You follow him on Twitter at ZNaggy20. Man, you've been fantastic. Actually, I might want to get you back next week if you're open when we have a little bit more time. This has been fantastic. But tell everybody what you're doing and where they can catch all your stuff.
Let's do it next week. Hit me up. At LSU Country. It's LSU Country on Sports Illustrated. We cover everything from football, baseball, basketball, recruiting, women's basketball. It's everything. It's a complete, just a everything LSU sports that you could ask for. So check out the website. We got everything you could ask for. Really big on baseball right now. Obviously, it's the talking point. But fall camp's about to be rolling around the corner, and we're going to be getting our fair share of interviews, one-on-ones, a lot of fall camp video. So check us out, LSU Country on Sports Illustrated.
Thank you so much, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, man. Let's do it.
All right, that's Zack Nagy. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He's going to have to be a regular. Dude's good, man. Dude's good. We got people sending in texts from SiriusXM. Blake, Britt, get your fat ass out of what you're doing and bring Zack Nagy back. That's what they're saying. All right. We do got another guest, though. Stephen Bishop, man. So listen, I was absolutely in love with the podcast that he did. Guys, we're 737 episodes in. He got to talk to Barry Bonds this week. And look, we'll talk about his story. We'll talk about Barry Bonds. But, man, I got to admit, I have never listened to something and walked away like, God, dog. Talk to Stephen Bishop next and everything that they got going on. But let's talk about our good friends over at State Farm. Don't go anywhere. Stephen Bishop joins us next. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. They're joined here by Stephen Bishop. Now, I got to admit, Stephen, I don't know if you heard, but, man, I got to tell you right off the jump, this is a fantastic interview for me. So I want to thank you for joining us. I think this is going to be really great. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's amazing to, be asked to come talk about the podcast after, like you were about to say, the first one. But yeah, no, I'm doing well. Unfortunately, I'm on strike now as an actor, but fortunately, we're not promoting a project here, so I'm able to do it. I don't think I would have been able to do it had I been promoting something that I was a part of as an actor. So glad to be here.
I do want to get to that and your thoughts, because some people in reference to that and your acting career don't know exactly what's going on. So I do want to get to that, but I got to admit, right off the jump, okay, I just want to talk a little bit about your baseball career and then you getting to talk to Barry Bonds. Obviously, playing David Justice, being friends with him, okay, and then playing him in Moneyball. But first and foremost, you have a very great baseball background, playing in minor leagues, playing in college. But you got to interview Barry Bonds this week. And if you hadn't listened to the podcast, it is absolutely fantastic. My man was like hurting about the Hall of Fame. when you were interviewing him, I guess, what did you feel in reference to like what he was going through and not being in the Hall of Fame, and just everything that's happened?
Well, I kind of felt what you felt. I mean, I could feel some palpable pain there. Barry's a very good friend of mine, and I've known him for a very long time. And I think that's one of the reasons that he allowed me to ask that question and was willing to answer it. But when you put in that kind of work for your entire life and you grow up in baseball and your father and your godfather and everybody in your life your life revolves around baseball. And then you put up the numbers that he put up over the course of time that he put them up, and you don't get to reap the ultimate reward for it when you have been, by like I said in the podcast, by most accounts, the greatest player to ever put spikes in dirt.
No doubt.
When you don't get to really reap those rewards, it's got to be painful. And I could see it, I could feel it, and I was just grateful that he felt comfortable enough with Jerry and myself to answer it. And I'm glad that he got a chance to talk about it because, I've been on, like I said, on the podcast, Hollywood Swinging. I've been on Sports Illustrated Television speaking about it. I've been on ESPN as a co-host on His and Hers speaking about it. And I feel like, as a baseball player, as somebody who understands the difficulty of doing what he did, I owe it to him to stand up for him. He did a lot for me as a young player. And so I will forever champion his efforts until he gets into the Hall. I think that he deserves it. I think he earned it even before any allegations of what people are holding him out for were in place. He was a Hall of Famer coming out of Pittsburgh. And there's no denying that. I don't think, other than Alex Rodriguez, I don't think there's any other two-time MVP that's not in the Hall, let alone a three-time, and that's what he did in Pittsburgh. He's a seven-time MVP.
Yeah, but to your point, that has not happened. And Stephen, to that point, it hasn't happened in any sport of the big three, right? Like football, baseball, basketball, it has not happened.
I had to go to the big four to find anybody who was even matched him, let alone surpassed him in MVPs, and that was Wayne Gretzky in hockey.
Right.
It's like I said on the show, when I rattled off the numbers that I rattled off, to think that person, regardless, let's take the name away from it, just the numbers, and I tell you that guy is not in the Hall of Fame in that sport. You'd have to be like, well, what are they doing over there at the Hall of Fame? I mean, how's that possible?
I think that when y'all talked about it and the viral nature that happened during it, and fans were asked, do you believe that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame? And nearly 80%, so 1 million people voted on this. TMZ, Believe, our partners over at Believe.
Dan Patrick,
1 million people, Stephen, voted on this. 800,000 people voted yes that he should be in the Hall of Fame. How many people have to vote and think that he should be in the Hall of Fame before it actually happens?
Somebody wrote on our page that, it doesn't help that he was a jerk to writers. And I wrote back, well, then doesn't that just accentuate the point that this has become a popularity contest and not the place where the best players go to hang their cleats up? I mean, listen, not everybody's a gregarious and personable guy when they're at work. You know what I mean? And Barry had a chip on his shoulder from when his father played, and he saw how the media treated his father. And so there was some things going on there that, let's just say there were extenuating circumstances. But I don't think that, the hurt feelings of people involved with the way they may have, gotten treated when they asked him certain questions and things like that should allow them to block this man from the ultimate, plateau in our sport. And like I said, I think it's egregious. I think it's terrible. I think it puts a stain on the Hall, because let's talk about Roger Clemens too. I mean, Roger Clemens was damn near a Hall of Famer coming out of college. I mean, and he's not there. There's Pete Rose, now here's the thing with Pete Rose, there's a different animal there. On every clubhouse wall, there is a sign that says, "Do not bet on these games." There's a sign there. As soon as you walk out of the clubhouse, there's a sign on the wall leading out. At least there used to be when I was walking in and out of clubhouses. And he's not there, but he's another one. How long? The thing I say about with Barry, there's punishments in place now for steroid use, for PED use, let's say. The lifetime ban doesn't come into play until the third offense. So why are we lifetime banning a guy like Barry or a guy like Roger when that's not in play for them? They weren't second and third time offenders. I can't see how it's fair. I know there's a lot of people out there who have things to say, the cheating thing, but when you say what you just said, 1 million people and 800,000 vote for him to be there, that should the court of public opinion should prevail in this case.
I agree.
All the fans want him there. Well, not all, but the vast majority of the fans want him there.
So I'm going to stay with me on this question, but I'm going to try to tie it into one. You have been in your career, whether it be acting, which you've been in big things in acting. You've been in baseball, right? Minor leagues. You talked about, I think it was on the Dan Patrick show. You had talked about, which we'll mention in a minute, but your relationship with a guy like David Justice. You talked about like all the things that you have done. You've been around some of, and yourself included, the best. You talked about your relationship with Barry. Have you ever seen someone at that elite of a level be blackballed as worse as Barry has?
No.
I don't think.
Listen, it doesn't get more elite than Barry.
Right.
All the guys that we've just discussed, the David Justices, the David Ortizes that we have coming soon on the podcast. All of these guys. Barry is the pinnacle, and I mean it when I say the greatest player to ever put spikes in dirt. When we talk about the MVPs, we talk about the Gold Gloves, we talk about the only man ever to go 500. I mean, there is no more elite in their field, I don't think, than Barry Bonds would be in baseball. And I have never seen anything, even a guy remotely close to that elite being blackballed. I mean, there's things that happen, Will Smith with the Chris Rock thing, but is he ultimately going to be blackballed? I don't think so.
No.
He's Will Smith. I don't think you can try to erase him from what he's done in this other field that I've been fortunate to be a part of. That's a great question, because I'm racking my brain right now to try to think of somebody even Pete Rose. Pete Rose, the hit king, isn't close to Barry Bonds in what he's accomplished in baseball with those accolades and those numbers. What was it? The year that he had more intentional walks than anybody else had walks. Right. There was one year where he reached base 327 times or 326, I think, in 324 appearances. It was like, we used to have a joke when I was playing college baseball. One time I was fortunate enough to be in the middle of a just ridiculous stretch where I went 16 for 24 over the course of a week. Oh, wow. And one of my teammates comes into the locker room and he says, geez, it's like you're going 6 for 5 every night, bro. How is this happening? 6 for 5. It's like Barry going 326 for 324. It doesn't even compute.
It's video game numbers.
Yeah. Right. And I said it on the show. ESPN did a collage of all 73 home runs that he hit in that magical year.
Right.
And every swing looked identical. Everything from beginning to the little jab step that he did after he hit the ball, whether it was opposite field, center field, or the pull side, they all looked the same. And that was another level of locked in. I mean, as a hitter, I understand how difficult it is to be so locked into your technique that no matter where you're hitting the ball, the move, you could superimpose them over each other and they would look the same. It was amazing. It was just ridiculous to watch.
You know, last thing, my favorite player of all time is Tony Gwynn, not remotely close, okay? And I listened to Tony talk when he was the head coach at San Diego State, and he said that one time they were like at an all-star game event, something like that, and he blindfolded Barry Bonds. And he said, I'm going to put the tee right here. If you think your swing is as level as you think it is, you'll hit the ball wherever I place it. He said Barry Bonds hit it 10 out of 10 times, and then he started giggling after he hit the second one because he knew that it wasn't going to change. And just to think about something like that and where we are now, man, but look, y'all's podcast is electric. Like, look, man, it was probably the best episode of baseball podcast I'd ever listened to. So Hollywood Swinging, we'll let everybody know where you can get all of it, you know, at the end here. But I do have some more questions that I got for you. So we talked about David Justice, right? And I got to ask you, man, the relationship that you had with David, a lot of people don't know that y'all are actually kind of close, but you got to play him in that movie. And so going back and look at the iconic part of that when you were sitting there kind of just taking a little BP in the cage and you were saying, hey, man, I'm David Justice. And being able to be a friend of him and know that, like, can you take us through having to actually play a really good friend of yours in a movie like that?
Yeah, it was fairly nerve-wracking. The one thing that I had going for me was that when I was young, I really, really was fond of him as a player. Like, but my teammates in college called me Baby Justice. So, I mean, you know, when we would play wiffle ball, I would practice his stance. I knew his swing inside and out. And I knew him from when I got to the Braves minor league system. I actually, if you go to the Moneyball Blu-ray DVD, they have a bonus section called The David Justice Story, where I tell how I met David and how we became friends. Long story short, one of my teammates in college asked me if I had seen the Braves game. I went home and watched it that night. I was like, oh my God, it's like looking in a mirror. Later that summer, I went to a Giants game where the Braves were in town just to meet him. He gave me some gloves. I went and I got my scholarship to Riverside. I had a 22-game hitting streak with his gloves. Went back that summer to see him at the Giants game, told him about the streak. Later that year, I signed with the Braves, went to spring training, saw him in camp. He took me under his wing, told everybody around camp, this is my little brother. You treat him like you treat me. And then the rest is history. So knowing him so well and being so close to him, it was a little nerve-wracking because I didn't want to get it wrong. I knew that I could do his swing, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper and learn about, you know, mannerisms and certain things that he would say. And, you know, when we went and had the premiere at Toronto International Film Festival, David sat right next to me at the premiere. Him and his wife, Rebecca, sat right next to me at the premiere, and I had not seen it yet. I hadn't seen anything. So I'm just like, oh my God, I hope I did well. I hope I did this right. I hope I did this right. And when the movie when the movie was ending and the credits were rolling, he looked at me, he extended his hand, he shook my hand. He said, you did a great job, bro. You did a great. And his wife was like, you nailed it.
Did you feel relieved like when he did that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because he's my buddy. He's like my big brother. I don't want to make him look bad. I don't want to do anything that would, you know, disparage him in any way or make him look like, you know, there's an interesting story. When I spoke to Billy Beane, the actual Billy Beane, when we were in Oakland Coliseum, he was on the field watching us film. And I said, listen, I want to know, is this really how David was, or is this being embellished for the film? He was like, to be honest with you, Stephen, David was my best clubhouse leader. He was not like this. He got it right away. He came in. I didn't have to ask him to be a leader. He was, you know, over a decade-long veteran at the time. He came in, he got it, and, you know, it was smooth with him. So I really just wanted to make sure that I got it right and that he was proud of the way that I portrayed him, and that he was that I showed him that the way I visualize him, the way I see him in my eyes is in a very, very good light.
The most iconic to me lines in any sports movie is when you're talking with Chris Pratt and he said,
I already know what you're going to say.
My general
Good luck with that.
It is iconic, dude. Do you know?
Can I tell you something?
Yes, please.
That was improv. That was improv.
You can kind of tell a little because like you're eating the cereal, and you're like, well, good luck with that. Dude, you understand how much I use that meme? Okay.
It dawned on me as he walked out of the room. I was like, I gotta say something leader-like. I gotta say something. And so I just, well, good luck with that. And fortunately, Bennett Miller, our awesome director, fortunately he kept it, man, because a lot of people, say that, and it has grown legs. It's been awesome.
Our last thing for the baseball, and I want to talk about your podcast and some of the other thing, or one more thing for you. What does it feel like to be a part of? So, for example, Euclid that was at Boston, some of these guys that are analytical dudes around baseball. What was it like to be a part of a movie that showed the world where Major League Baseball had gone? Because when you think about like Tampa Bay is nothing but analytical data. Don't bunt, don't walk, get on first, don't steal, get to second, whatever. A lot of teams that have adopted that. As a baseball guy yourself, what does that feel like to be a part of something so massive in one of the biggest sports?
I really liked it because it allowed people who weren't necessarily baseball, deep into baseball. They were just a casual fan, or maybe their husband was a fan and they weren't. They got brought to see the movie with their husband or whatever. It allowed them to really understand what was going on in that time and how these teams, certain teams had bigger payrolls, other teams had smaller payrolls, but they had to compete with the big guys and they had to figure out ways to do it. I really enjoyed being a part of the explanation, you know what I mean? And allowing people to really, have the light bulb go on and say, wow, okay, so that's what this is about. And that's how, okay, I see how you can make Jason Giambi out of three guys. You just gotta, combine them and use them properly, and you can create those same numbers if you just plug them in the right times against the right pitchers. You might be able to get the same outcome over the course of a season.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had multiple scouts and SEC coaches, GMs on the show, and all of them say the same thing about analytical data. Like, listen, I look for the best athlete, but if he's doing something good in analytics, it makes my job that much easier because of, everything that had gone on. But last thing for you here, Steven, you talked about the writers' strike or the strike. Can you just give us your perspective as you've been an actor and you're going through this? Can you give us your perspective on that?
Listen, we as actors, our strike started today, what I mean? And we've been in solidarity with the writers, and, there's other unions that we're in solidarity with. And the thing is, nobody wants to strike. Nobody wants to not be able to work, but we all want to be treated fairly and share in the fruits of our labor. We don't want to feel like we're taken advantage of or anything like that. So, I trust our membership and our leaders to negotiate the contracts for us properly. I trust the producers and the studios to, eventually see, what needs to be done is the right thing, and everybody needs to be happy about the way, they are sharing in what is being generated by all of our work. I hope it doesn't last long because I want to work, and I'm fortunate to be in a good place right now in my career where I've got, 3 projects in the can right now. I've got 2 films and a TV pilot in the can right now. So, there's going to be, if it does extend, I still have things that are going to come out. So it's not going to affect my exposure. But I want to keep working while I still have the ability and while I still have the interest from the fans and the viewers, and
Right.
I just think that once we all get to the table and we have, calm and reasonable conversation, I think that eventually it will work itself out. But like I said, I stand with my union. I stand with the other unions. We have to do sometimes unpleasant things in life that we don't want to do, but eventually I hope everything works out for the best.
Well, one thing that is I know that's going to be fantastic is Hollywood swinging, man. Like, listen, I've done this for a long time. What y'all have going on there is fantastic. Can you tell everybody where they can catch y'all's podcast? You talked about Big Papi coming on there. I'm going to need you to get a Yankee on there. Okay. You got.
We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on some. Jerry was a world champion with the Yankees.
That's correct.
And Justice was a Yankee. Don't forget that.
And listen, because I talked to your guys' producers when we were scheduling this, and they asked about Jerry. I say, listen, as a Yankees fan, I might cry if the man showed up.
Yeah, no, we're going for.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. We're going for some big fish. So I don't want to give it away who we're trying to go for. I'm sure you can guess when we talk Yankees and I say big fish, but we're trying to bring a lot of good names to the table and let people get a chance to know them a little bit better in a real casual conversation type of way. Most of the people that we've done thus far, we've got, I think, 11 shows in the can so far, and they're friends of ours. You know what I mean? Like, right. Barry and Big Papi is a friend of mine, and Justice we did Justice, Cedric the Entertainer. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and Stitch. We're on the Believe network. They're hosting the pod. So, I really appreciate you, you saying what you said. That was our first episode. And honestly, we're kind of just winging it. You know what I mean? Just having a good time and trying to do the best job we can. So to have somebody like a veteran, like you say, we're doing a good job is an honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And Steven, I got to admit, man, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. You got a lifelong listener and me and everybody that we have here. So thank you so much for joining us, and you have a good night, sir. It's great talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you being a listener, and hopefully we can live up to the first show from here on out.
You will. Thanks, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, that's Stephen Bishop. Tell me that shit wasn't electric. That dude, they got something, man. They got something, dude. If you're a baseball fan, it is by far the best fucking podcast you're going to listen to. It's really good. All right, let's get to one more break. We got to finish up and wrap up the show. Let's talk about our good friends over at Blue Chew. That's bluechew.com. Be right back. This episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Blue Chew. Guys, do you remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that confidence where it matters the most, in the bedroom. Listen up, bluechew.com. They always say that first impressions are always the most important. What about those lasting ones? They say there's nothing sexier than a man with confidence. Blue Chew gives you that confidence back. Try Blue Chew for free today when you use our promo code SPORTS20 at checkout. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code SPORTS20. You will receive that first month free of charge. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Hitting the wrong damn buttons. That was really good, man. That was really good. Dude played David Justice in Moneyball or Brad Pitt, dude. And that was his friend. Man, fantastic. All right, let's do this. So, I I want to be careful here, okay? Because there's a lot of questions in reference to this person. And let me take a sip of water. Luke Hill, okay. So Luke Hill entered the transfer portal. If you don't know who Luke Hill is, he is a Baton Rouge native, a shortstop from Arizona State, was a freshman All-American at Arizona State, hit like 320, I think 7 or 8 home runs, like 40-something RBIs, had a really fantastic year for Arizona State. Well, he entered the portal today. It is perceived that he is a lock to LSU. What I will tell you is there are other teams in this mix. I put a very lengthy edition of what I believe is going on here, and I do not know if LSU will be the spot. The Tigers have a lot that are coming in and a lot of position dudes. Like, guys, Gavin Guidry, like, if you talk to any scout, they think that he is going to be a first, maybe late first, early second round pick at shortstop second. They really believe he's going to be that good in the field. You go and get Braswell from South Carolina. You bring in multiple electric infielders. If Hill would have got into the portal earlier, I do believe that things would have been different on how this process may go. LSU, and I will say this here as I said it on our forum, has not contacted him. I am not saying that LSU won't circle back. I'm not saying that he won't come to LSU. But I do not believe that unless something massively changes, which I got to admit can always happen in recruiting, I do not know if he will be a Tiger. And I don't feel relatively good about that. It's going to be interesting to see with the depth that LSU has at that position if they do circle back. However, regardless of what happens, meaning if he does come to LSU, it's a kaboom. If he goes to somewhere else in the SEC, wanting to stay close to home, and it's not LSU, that's going to be tough. So I think that he can play anywhere in the SEC, including LSU. I am not telling Jay how to do his job, but what I will tell you is that if LSU does not pursue him, I think it's a massive miss. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a massive miss. You have a potential first-round talent, which people believe that he can be a first-round guy. He was in the Pac-12. He's going to hit 330 for you. Might hit double-digit home runs. He's a better defender, in my opinion, than Jordan Thompson was. He would be a kaboom. The problem is that in baseball, when you have freshmen coming in, it's different when you have baseball freshmen and like football freshmen. Those guys in football need time. Sometimes in baseball, they do not. I don't relatively feel good about it, but I think it would be of my opinion that LSU needs to try to lock into him, even though I do not believe that they will. I think Ole Miss and Tennessee are teams that if he were to announce today where he was going, either one of them lead the charge. where I do feel that the Rebels might get him if it were to happen today. Again, and understand this, it's not happening today. The kid's technically not officially in the portal yet. All right. Mike says, fairly new listener here. Love your show. Go Tigers. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace.